In this episode, we're talking about a character who launched a franchise that's still going strong over half a century. Whether he's an underdog or a champion, he constantly beats the odds and inspires fans around the world. He's the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa. Here we go. And here we are again for another episode of Greatest Characters in Pop Culture History. And today we're talking about Rocky Balboa. This was the character that kind of inspired me to do this podcast, to be honest with you. And my guest is Trish Tedisco, who is the ultimate Rocky Balboa fan. So, Trish, I'm so happy you could be here. And I was talking to you a little bit before we started recording that I've been pesting you so much to do this episode. I know you've been busy, so I'm so glad only you could be the guest to talk about this. So why don't we just start with, how you started, falling in love with this character? What was your first experience? Was it Rocky 1 or did you see one of the other Rocky movies?
Oh, it was Rocky 3. And I actually caught my parents watching Rocky 3. So it wasn't like they sat me down and said, as a family, we're going to watch a Rocky movie. No, Rocky 3 had made its network television debut. And I want to say it was like 1984 because the movie came out in 1982. And back then, it took some time before it hit TV. So my parents were watching, they were already an established Rocky fan. So they were watching Rocky 3 on TV. And I had fallen asleep on the couch in between them. And I woke up to two men fighting. And the first thing I see is Rocky and what would I find out to be Rocky and Clubber in the rematch. And I was just immediately intrigued because of how intensely my parents were watching. They didn't even realize they forgot to put me to sleep. And I asked my mom, who do you guys want to win? And my mother wouldn't even look at me. She was just looking straight at the TV and she's like, Rocky, stop asking questions. It's Rocky.
That's so funny.
And the first thing I see Rocky do is say to Chloe, he's egging him on. And he's like, my mother hits harder than that. Come on, champ, in the face, in the face. And he's charging towards the screen. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is the coolest, bravest guy I've ever seen in my life. And he has such a cool name. I'm like 6, 7 years old here. I think those things are important. And it was love at first sight. And I had to see the movie from the beginning. So we had to rent it every single week until I had it memorized. And then my mother convinced me to see the first two movies. And I was really intrigued to meet the characters for the first time, considering that I started in the middle. So it was nice to see how Rocky met Adrian and Paulie was there from the beginning and how he shook hands with Mickey to form their mentorship. So, yeah.
Yeah, Rocky 3 for me too was one of my favorite movies, even to this day. I know it's a little campy and cheesy and things like that,
Yeah.
but I love it. And it was one of the first movies that my dad took me to see in a movie theater. So,
Oh,
I'm older than you, so I remember the first two movies, but I didn't see them in the theater. I was just a little kid. But they were played on TV a bunch of times.
yeah.
So I remember seeing the edited version of the original Rocky and Rocky 2. And then when Rocky 3 came out, my dad took me and my cousin Bobby to see it. And seeing it in the theater, people were watch. It was like watching a live boxing match. They were all into it. They were, and I fell in love with the character. So
Yeah.
what is it about Rocky Balboa, the character, you think that
Yeah.
has endured and become this franchise? I mean, we've seen this character
Yeah.
evolve through all these movies.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the relatability first and foremost, because looking at the basics of that character, he's a man in the 70s. He's down and out. He's a struggling boxer. I can't relate to any of that. Okay. Personally, I'm a woman. I was born after the movie came out in 77. I'm not interested in sports. I'm not even a fan of boxing. Am I allowed to say that? I admire boxers. I think what they do is incredible, but I can't watch two real people hitting each other. I can't do it. But it's so much more than that. It's the fact that he's down, but he's not out, right? He keeps getting beat up, but he's not beaten. He keeps moving forward. He keeps trying. And I think that's something that everybody, wherever you are in life, whoever you are, can relate to. And certainly that's what I've attached to so strongly, is just that whole going the distance, whatever that distance is for you. It could be your personal life. It could be a job. It could be anything, the hobbies, your passions, illness. People use that Rocky mentality to get themselves or to support others who are going through an illness. So I think that's what what's so enduring. You don't have to be a fan of boxing
Mhm.
to, I mean, it probably helps, but you don't have to be.
Yeah, and I'm
It's just
glad
too
you bring that
relatable.
up because it is like it's boxing is almost like a metaphor. Like
Right.
I know a lot of people who are like you who like they
Yeah.
don't really follow pro boxing or
Nope.
amateur boxing. They just like the movie and it tells a
Yeah.
story. Like it's really about this underdog and
Yeah.
it's relatable. Like in all walks of life,
Hmm.
whether you're athletic or not, whether you're male or female or just it's really interesting, like connects. And I think that
Right.
is what it is about Rocky Balboa. He's this underdog. He's this
Yeah.
person and even when he achieves success, like he hits the bottom again, like
Yeah.
he
In
goes
Rocky
through these
3.
ups and downs and he
Yeah.
loses people who are close to him. And it's just,
Mm.
it's so great. I think that's what
Yeah.
really resonates. And I think that comes from Sylvester Stallone, who
Oh,
wrote the
100%.
story, right?
Yeah.
So you know the story, right? When he was
Oh,
down
yeah.
in his luck, he was like struggling as an actor. And then
Yeah.
he sees that wonderful fight,
Oh,
with
Muhammad Ali
Chuck
and
Wepner and
right.
Muhammad Ali. And this unknown, underdog goes the distance with
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali, who was at the prime of his like his boxing career, right? Still, you know, what an inspiration, right?
Right. Yeah, and he had like $100 or so in the bank account. He had a baby on the way,
Can't
right?
imagine.
I mean, I can't imagine. Can you imagine? You're a father. Can you
Hmm.
imagine what that's
Yeah,
like? Right? So, and he, wrote the script
in
and
like
he
3 days, I heard
3
like it's
days.
like a fever
Yeah.
dream, just kind of
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
he believed in himself so much, which is also that's something to aspire to, right? I don't think that just co for me, it doesn't come naturally. I have to work at that. But, yeah,
and
so his whole
studios
story.
loved the script, but they
Right.
didn't want to cast Sylvester Stallone because he's a
He
nobody. Nobody
Yeah,
knew who he was.
they're not gonna make money on his name. De Niro or back in the day, I guess Ryan O'Neal, Burt Reynolds, those were the
Yeah.
guys. Oh,
Yeah,
but
and I can imagine he's so down on his luck that the temptation to just, okay, sell the script, but
right.
he held on to it and he was like, "No,
Yeah.
unless I get cast as Rocky, we're not gonna make this project. We're not gonna
Yeah.
sell it." And then
Yeah. Cause
United Artists finally is like, "Okay, we'll make it low budget, very
right.
low budget." And you
Yeah,
could
they
be,
didn't even
they
have
didn't think it was,
permits
yeah,
to film in Philly. They were, like, jumping out of the van to film shots, and they're making a movie on this now
yeah,
called I Play Rocky.
yeah,
The
which is gonna
miraculous
be great.
story,
Yeah.
yeah, of how this was made. That's gonna be because not everybody probably knows the story. Like, it's super fans like you and I know, but
Mhm.
not everybody knows.
Yeah, and it's a great story in itself. I think that's why
Yeah,
that biopic is gonna be so great.
yeah,
But the movie becomes a phenomenon, so it wins Oscar awards, it breaks
yeah,
box office records, and launches this franchise, right?
yeah,
So, I mean, it's like Hollywood story, but also the American story. Like it's set in it's right in real time when he wrote it. It was like the bicentennial of America,
mhm,
so that ties into the plot of Apollo Creed, the champion. It's like, yeah, let's do some marketing gimmick. What would be great? Oh, the Italian stallion, right? He's from Philly. And Philadelphia itself is like a
yeah.
character, right? And
Oh,
that
yeah.
ties into the, because that's where the Declaration of Independence was, confirmed, right? So what do you think about Philly itself as like kind of being part of the storytelling? Like it really is a character of
It is
itself.
a character. Yeah, like New York is often a character in any
Hmm.
movie that's set in New York because it has such personality. And I say this as a New Yorker born and raised like you. And even now, I've moved to Philadelphia. And I'm learning the city as a resident. I was a tourist for so many years, and now I'm a resident there. So I'm kind of learning the city on a different level. And it is a character. It's got a lot of heart, a lot of spirit. Philly loves Philly, despite the haters. Philly loves Philly, and it's definitely a fighting city. So it makes sense. Additionally, though, Sylvester Stallone grew up in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
That's part of why he included the city. But it's one of those places that has a character to begin
Hmm.
with. People are working class. They've got personality. They've got determination. So it kind of made sense. And Rocky doesn't come from a good area. He comes from an area that's struggling pretty badly, even to this day. Because I've been to the filming
Hmm.
locations, and it's a tough area
Yeah.
for certain. So it just adds to the character. If he grew up in a wealthy neighborhood, I don't think it would have hit the same.
Yeah. And the fact that it has so much history, I think Philadelphia, you know,
Yeah.
that's important too, because
Yeah.
like a lot of cities, we were from New York, so New York has had its ups and downs,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's resilient, and the
Yeah.
history there. So I think setting it in Philadelphia is just so perfect. It's
Yeah.
so that first movie, then, he's been boxing, he's done his
Under the
thing.
radar.
Yeah, Italian stallion, right? And but he's not making ends meet, so he's
No.
you know, he
Collective for a loan shark.
yeah. But it's funny, like when he does go to collect, he doesn't bust their knees. He
No.
doesn't, you know, like
No.
you see the heart is there. You know, he's a good guy. And what is he trying to
No.
do? He's like going after Adrian, this young woman who's
Shy.
so shy. She has
Yeah.
evolved so much over the
Yeah.
movies, right? And that's his life. He's got his little dog. You know, he's like all the things you see. You know, but he's not
Yeah.
as dumb as people say he is, right? I feel
Right.
like he's giving advice to the
He's
girl.
wise.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing. Like it's like what do you think of your impressions of like that first movie and the arc? And again, going the distance, that's the
Yeah.
goal. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
to win the championship. He just wants to
Right.
go
No.
there and show that yeah, he you know, he deserves to be in the ring with the champ.
Right. Right. I mean the first movie is gorgeous. So
It
one of the
is.
it's probably my whenever someone asks me what my favorite movie is, I say it's Rocky, the first Rocky. But if you ask me what my favorite Rocky movie is, it's 3.
Me too.
A little guilty pleasure there. But yeah, in the first movie, when do we ever see a hero, a protagonist, not want to get the prize? Everybody always wants to get that trophy. But in Rocky, he realizes, he's so realistic. There's a really good chance that I'm not going to win the battle. There's no way I can beat Apollo. He's the heavyweight. I'm a ham and egger. But for me personally, I would be content with just going the distance and standing when the
Mhm.
bell rings. Like I'm still on my feet. I
Mhm.
haven't been knocked out of the ring. That's all I want. And it's all to prove to himself that he's worth it.
Yeah.
He's a worthy human being. He's not just, like he says, another bum from the neighborhood, which I imagine is a heavy cross to bear to feel that way about yourself and your place in the world. So he has to do this for himself and he doesn't care what other people think. I think that's a beautiful thing. So what, it was a draw. So what, he didn't get the belt.
But for him, that was
Yeah.
the impossible dream, like to go
Yeah.
that far. And now people will be like, wow, you know, they were
Yeah.
cheering for him in the audience, right? And, you know, Apollo was a popular champion.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you see, and it makes it realistic because, like, Apollo doesn't take it seriously. He doesn't
No.
train as hard as he could. Like,
No.
until he's in the ring and he sees the blows and he's getting
Yeah.
hit, and then he tries his best, but he's not there. He hasn't trained that hard.
Yeah.
So that's what
Well,
makes it realistic.
it was round 14 in the first fight.
Okay.
That's the famous round
Mhm.
where Rocky gets knocked down and Mickey tells him to stay down, stay down. And Rocky ignores this advice. And he loves Mickey. Mickey's his trainer, his mentor, a father figure, but he's not going to listen to him because he's like the kid who's growing up that has to do this for himself despite what your parents say, kind of thing. And he says in that moment to himself, I have to get up, I have to do this. Even if this is a devastating consequence, I got to do it. And he gets up and he barely lifts his gloves and he's motioning for Apollo to come back for more, and Apollo can't believe it.
Yeah.
And
I
even the
love
commentator
that
says
moment.
Apollo can't believe it. And I think that's when Apollo's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like in awe of this man.
Yeah.
Who am I fighting?
Yeah, and Carl Weathers does such a good job with
I
that moment.
absolutely
That
love
look on his
Carl
face
Weathers.
is just
Yeah.
like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're still on your feet? What?"
Yeah. Like he had thought he won the fight when
Yeah.
Rocky went down. And you see the camera pan out to the whole ring. You see Apollo with his arms up in victory.
Mhm.
He's like, all right, the fight's over. I finally knocked him out. It took 14
Mm.
rounds, but I did it. No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Rocky is
Yeah.
not out. Do not count that man out.
Yeah, and a lot of people would look back now and say like, "Oh, they would have stopped the fight because they beat each other up to a pulp." But that's creative license, and that's what makes. And you look at some of the historic boxing matches, and yeah, people get bloodied like pretty
Oh.
bad. So you know, you could tell Sylvester Stallone was a fan of boxing, and you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the character itself, you know, Rocky Marciano was the
Mhm.
inspiration for Rocky Balboa. That's where he
Right.
took the name Rocky.
Right.
So, it's just great, and he gets inspired. The training stuff. I think Joe Frazier would punch the
Mm.
meat, you know. So that's where he got that from. And then in Rocky 4 with carrying the big wooden stuff and training outdoors, that was George Foreman's training method, you know. So a lot of that. He's a fan of boxing. You see it through all the movies, little
Oh, yeah.
interspersions of when he gets older. He's like being inspired by George Foreman coming back to the ring and all that, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just great. I love that first movie, the ice skating moment where he's taking her ice skating, you know, and when the priest throws the blessing and he's like, you know,
Yeah.
little moments, just like, it's just really great. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite moment from the movie? Like that first one?
From the first round, I'm going to say my instinct is to say that round 14 moment when he's down
Hmm.
and he ignores Mickey and he gets up. I
That's a
feel like
good.
that's when Rocky's born.
Yeah.
That
And
that's when he's born.
And then the first montage, I think that's the first time you see that. And they try to replicate it in every other movie when he's
Yeah.
running up the stairs, just like.
Yeah.
But that first training when he can't do it, he
When he
gets a
can't do
split in
it.
the side, you know?
Yeah.
That's what also makes that final montage so powerful because he finally does it, you know? And that's
Yeah.
an achievement for him too. He's like, maybe he's doubting himself at the beginning. He's like, what have I gotten myself into?
I think so.
You know?
That first run up, so we do see him struggling up and down, coming down the stairs, right? Which absolutely relatable. But the fact that he goes back to those stairs later, he doesn't
Hmm.
say, you know what, I am never running up those steps again. They sucked. No, no, no. He doesn't say that. I would have probably said that. But he actually runs back up later and because he knows I'm in such good shape, I can do it now. And he
Yeah.
and he does it. And I always wonder, like when he reaches the top, he doesn't put his arms up right away. He's kind of just bouncing around a little bit and he's looking out at the parkway and at City Hall in the distance. And I wonder, what is he thinking? What's going through his mind before he raises his
Hmm.
arms up?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a private moment. We're not supposed to know that
Yeah.
probably.
But
So
that's fantastic. And then I remember him eating the raw eggs and things.
ah,
It's just like the stuff you do to kind of get into shape. Have
or in
you?
the morning,
Yeah, you've run up those stairs though. Like those are a lot
100
of
times,
steps.
72 steps.
Wow.
And they're not spaced out in a natural way.
Uh huh.
And I'm 5'2", so my gait is always thrown off when I'm running up. Not
Yeah.
that I'm in fantastic shape to be doing that anyway, but
Right.
I do it.
Yeah. And again, after the run he's done through the city, it's not just like he goes to the steps and runs up. It's like he's
Right.
out of breath. He's tired. And to
Yeah.
do that is a big achievement. So it just shows the
Yeah.
endurance that he's built up with this training. So
Right.
and then you've got Mickey the first time. I love one of my favorite scenes. Like he has Mickey is this trainer
Yeah.
and he kind of blows him off. And then
Hmm.
when he gets handpicked to be going, now he's like, okay, you need a trainer. I'll be the guy. And Rocky's like, oh, now you need me. But when he's
Right.
telling the story about, when he got punched and the guy had the tack in his thumb and he was
Yeah.
spitting out,
Spitting me out. Yeah.
oh man, it's just like, what a great movie. Like this was a movie that would have come out and it's like, it's an independent classic. You don't think it's going to be like the launch of this
Right.
franchise, you know?
Yeah.
And Rocky, you would think, okay, they're just going back to the well. It's going to be repetitive, but no, it's got depth.
No.
It's got, he grows, he goes up and down. It's not always the same,
No, it's life all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he gets married. He loses Mickey. He loses his best friend. He
Mm-hmm.
loses his wife. Oh my gosh, how many hits can this man take? But that's all of us.
Yeah.
It's different when you're watching it in, like I do marathons, Rocky marathons, not running marathons. I do Rocky marathons every once in a while. And you watch this man age and you watch him go up and down through life all in one sitting.
Mhm.
For us, it kind of takes over, takes place over like our lifetime. But watching it in like 6 or 7 hours, oh my gosh, what this man goes through. It's incredible.
Yeah. And then you got Rocky 2, the sequel,
Oh
Inevitable,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
Rocky won Best Picture. It won Best Director, won Best
Editing.
Editing,
Yeah,
right?
the first one, yeah.
So, and then Sylvester Stallone was nominated for Best Actor. I think he won the Golden Globe. And then so it's just phenomenon. He
Yeah.
was up there accepting the Best Picture because he was, the guy who created all this.
Yeah.
So there was bound to be a sequel. So then
Yeah.
Rocky 2 just takes place immediately after, it's like at
Right.
the end of the movie, it's like no rematch. There's not going to be a rematch. And of course, everybody's calling for a rematch because they're like, Rocky should have won that. And
Yeah.
so he's pestering Balboa and Rocky's like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But you
Right.
see him trying to find a job afterwards and he's struggling,
Yeah.
he can't do it. And then they have that rematch, which is so great. And
Yeah.
it's just fantastic. I love it. And then this is the scene with her giving birth, right?
Right. And she
Adrian
slips
is
into a
yeah. What a great subplot, right? To kind of, so I love that. And then that fight, some people say that fight at the end, that was probably one of the better fights in the whole saga.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think at that point they were more, maybe a well-oiled kind of.
Mhm.
They had the practice, I guess, from the first one because now we have to win this. So
Yeah.
it's a
And
different level.
and the way that's where he learns, because you're thinking, okay, now that Apollo's taking it seriously, you're
Mm,
like, it's unbelievable that he would beat him again. But he trains, he's a legendary southpaw. He's a lefty, so he
right.
trains to fight
Right hand.
predominantly with his
Yeah.
right, and then it's when he switches and becomes lefty again. So I thought that was clever, a clever storytelling
Yeah.
device to kind of give Rocky an edge. I
Right.
thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And there's also, in the first movie, he had gone into it saying, I'm not going to win. I just want to go the distance. But this time he's going into it saying, no, 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 I want to win. I want that
Exactly.
belt. So I think that's like a different motivational tool
Yeah.
for him. So I,
Yeah.
I think that made it special.
Yeah.
Of course, the fact that he won. And also, let's not forget, Adrian told him to win.
Yep. And that's that motivation. That's it. That's great.
Yeah. One word. And she delivered it. Talia Shire delivered it beautifully.
She's such a great actress too. Like she's so
Yes.
good. She's come across her evolution is just
Yeah.
it goes hand in hand. I think with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I can't think of Rocky without thinking Adrian.
Yeah.
It's like ham and eggs. It's like
Right.
peanut butter and jelly.
Right. All right. So let's talk Rocky 3, the movie that both of us love to death. I mean,
Yay!
he is so different in this one now.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's been a champion for a few years. He,
Mhm.
defended his title. We find out later that a lot of them were
Mm,
handpicked by Mickey, that they knew he was going to beat them. Uh, but he's so much, slimmer, and
right.
he's got so much money. And you
Yeah.
kind of see the
It
foreshadowing
goes
to
straight
him
to his head.
losing everything too. Like
Yeah.
he's buying robots and he's buying, it's like pinball
Yeah.
machine, and all this
He
other.
rented out a hotel in Philly, and I know where that hotel is. He rents it out to open his training session to the public, stopping for kisses from
Yeah,
fans. And actually, if you remember that scene where a woman stops him on the bike to ask for a kiss, that's his real life wife at the
that's
time, I
awesome.
believe. And people are there buying merchandise, but it was also very it was reflective of what Sylvester Stallone, I think, was going through in his real life.
Hmm.
After the success of Rocky, all this Rocky merchandise hit the
Hmm.
stores, and everybody became this huge fan, and he was all of a sudden at the top of every list, So in Hollywood, so I think that it was kind of put into the movie to say, well, Rocky's going through the same thing now with the
Yeah.
success from his having won the belt. And it did kind of go to his head a little bit,
Yeah,
and
he becomes like Apollo was at the first movie. He doesn't really take it
right.
seriously. He's like, okay,
He didn't take it seriously. No,
yeah.
no, that training session was a bit of a spectacle.
But then you have like Clubber Lang, Mr. T, introducing Mr. T,
Introducing
who's
Mr.
got the hunger. He's like, just like Rocky,
Yeah,
like he's like, I want this. I'm trying. And you see the training where he goes at it. And
yeah,
what a great character. I mean, that made Mr. T a star.
yeah.
And we can't not talk about the merchandise though, because you've got a lot of merchandise behind you. I hope Sylvester Stallone gets some of the cuts from all the merchandising. Like I know
Yeah,
he was trying to fight back for the rights to that
right.
first movie and
And that's
everything.
something.
So I hope he gets a little bit of a chunk of all that merchandise. What got you into collecting the stuff?
Well, a few of the pieces are from my childhood, from the 80s, but my mom is a bit of a collector of things herself. So of dolls and
Hmm.
memorabilia. So one Christmas, she just kind of surprised me with a ton. I don't even know how many were under the tree, but just a ton of Rocky action figures that I didn't even know were out. But she had kind of surprised me, and so we've just kind of grown the collection from there. She has her own set, and I have she has like 3 or 4 herself, and the rest are mine. But I keep them here because I live in a city apartment, and she lives
Hmm.
in a suburban house, so
Yeah.
I don't have the room.
Do you have a favorite? If all of them had to go away, but you had to keep
Yeah.
one, what would it be?
It's the original Rocky 3 action figure from the 80s that I've
Nice.
had most of my life, and that I keep in my apartment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I just bought a case for it, so it's now in a
That's
protected
great.
little case. Yeah, I
I
have
mean,
the original Apollo and Clubber here too,
that's so
from
cool.
the 80s.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
obviously the action figures, there's also been a line of like clothes, like boxing and the robes, the trunks. You got the t-shirts going on. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
The
would think
boxing glove.
if if uh, if the statue itself that makes its
Mm.
debut in Rocky 3 would be considered merch, I'm sure there'll be people out there who would love to have that original statue and just put it in front of their home or in their room.
Yeah. Well, I have a replica, a small replica that I bought from the Sly
Yeah.
Stallone shop. But I believe there were 3 of those statues made,
Hmm.
and the one from the movie is at the bottom of the steps in Philly. It's
Hmm.
like the bottom, but to the side. Sylvester Stallone has one statue. He's loaned it to Philadelphia. It now sits atop the steps,
That's
like in
great.
the movie. I believe it'll be there through the end of next year for the 50th.
Yeah.
And then the third statue is now in the Philadelphia airport, the international airport.
Yeah. it just shows how much the character has
Yeah.
impacted the city. It really
Yeah.
has drawn attention and been so ingrained with the city. I love that scene when they're dedicating it, and that's where Clubber comes to challenge him. And then when he's down and out, that scene with the motorcycle, he just throws the
Throws the
helmet.
helmet.
I love that scene. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's very powerful,
Yeah.
because his whole world is falling apart
Mhm.
around him, and he looks at that statue and he feels like a false idol. He feels like I don't deserve this, and he's maybe embarrassed finding out that he isn't as good as he thought he was
Mhm.
because Mickey was handpicking
Yeah.
fights,
Trying to protect them, you know? So
trying
that's
to
why
protect
he's
him.
like, they didn't believe in me. Why am I believing in myself? Right?
Right.
All
And this is gonna happen publicly. They gave me a statue, and I didn't even earn this. Like, that's devastating.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We skipped the very opening with Thunder Lips, right? That I
Yeah.
love that opening where they do this exhibition fight where he is the champion in boxing and he fights the champion in wrestling. And of course,
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, another star turn. That was before people even know, people who were not, wrestling fans. They're like, who is
Yeah.
this Thunder Lips character? And it turns into like a real fight. And he's like, take off
Yeah.
my gloves, and it's like, I love it,
That scene is awesome, though.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's so 80s.
The ultimate meatball.
Yeah. Yes. The ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball.
I think that movie has so many quotable lines, I think more so than
Oh,
any
yeah.
other Rocky movie. Like,
Yeah.
I could sit there and watch it and repeat over and over again. But I remember my dad taking me and loving it so much and seeing my dad just get so into it.
Really.
And when Mickey gets the heart attack and he's
Mm.
crying and, he lies to Mick because he's like,
Yeah.
what happened? He's like, how many rounds? And whatever it was,
2
two
rounds.
rounds.
2 rounds, yeah.
So he doesn't say who won in two, but Mickey assumes it
Nope.
was him,
Yeah.
So he doesn't have the heart to tell him that he lost the
Well,
title,
in
right?
that way, he's protecting Mickey
Yep.
in the way Mickey was protecting him. I mean, it was those 2 were I mean, it
Mhm.
was love. I mean, they loved each other so much. It was such a father-son type of dynamic. It was a really beautiful relationship, but it was unfortunate that Rocky had to find out
Mhm.
that Mickey was kinda helping him a bit too much, and he
Yeah.
kinda grew, I think, a little upset over that.
Yeah.
But I think he learned to make peace with it and not hold it against Mickey, that Mickey
Absolutely.
really had his heart, in his heart.
Yeah. And then along comes Apollo to step into the role of trainer and get him, which is
That
great, you
That's what
know?
I love about 3 the most is I hate that Mickey died. I love Mickey.
Mhm.
But because he passes, now we get this other dynamic. Now we see Apollo, his rival,
Mhm.
right, come out literally from the dark. He's
Mhm.
in that scene is dark. He's
Love it.
coming out of the darkness to pick Rocky back up and say, "Hey, you beat me. I'm not letting you lose to this guy."
Yeah. Yeah. And then they go back to California, which is Apollo's
Yeah.
hometown, and he starts training where Apollo trained. But Rocky doesn't have his heart into it. He's still grieving. He doesn't believe
Yeah.
himself, all the stuff that, you
Confidence
know,
is gone.
yeah. And then it takes that motivational speech by Adrian. I think that's
Yeah.
what,
Adrian
I
once
love
again.
that scene. People might be like, "Oh, it's so corny." I'm like, "No,
Oh, no.
it's when you're in the moment, when you're in watching in the big screen, it's like
Yeah.
I've gone to see it a bunch of times in like the Alamo Draft House, which is one of my favorite movie theaters when they do all these revivals. It still holds up. The
Oh,
audience
yeah.
still gets, caught up even though they know what's coming and they know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, Adrian has been, for the most part, kind of by his side, but
Mhm.
more quietly. And here she just explodes. And at the end, he's like, "How did you get so tough?" And she says, "I live with a fighter." And then we see, oh, Adrian's been watching him and
Mhm.
learning and becoming her own with his influence. And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
The only thing I have regrets about this movie is we don't see more of Clubber Lang after this movie. Like, this is it. He's, like,
Yeah,
really in this movie, and that's it. And I always wish we got a little bit more not necessarily, he doesn't have to become like another Apollo where he's coming back and, but I would have loved to have seen what became of him and,
yeah,
so, who knows? Maybe they'll throw some reference to him or something in the future, but, again, Mr. T was just fantastic.
yeah.
A lot of the lines probably were improvised by him and, but they became
I pity the fool.
"I pity the fool" became his catchphrase, it's like, I loved it. What is your prediction? Pain.
Pain. Do you know how many people I love when people speak Rocky to me, even people who aren't huge fans, they try to incorporate Rocky lines, what they know, into conversations with me, and that is the number one.
I just love it. I love it.
Oh my
And
goodness,
then
so
his
funny.
fight the fight is like, he doesn't take, he because again, the realism, like, okay, how do we beat this younger, stronger fighter who already beat us to a pulp?
Yeah.
And it's like, that kind of rope-a-dope from Muhammad Ali, just kind of get him tired out, get him to be aggressive, and
Right.
then go after him, which can backfire very easily. But this is a fictional story, right?
Right. Right.
And it worked for Muhammad Ali, so it could work for Rocky
Right.
Balboa too.
Because Clubber was stronger.
Yeah,
He was, yeah, one punch from him, you're gonna go down. But
yeah,
so just tire him out so he can't punch you so much.
yeah. And you can
That's
see
how you
his
survive
ring
that.
is his corner is telling him, no, that's what he
Don't go
wants you to
wasting
do,
all your
and he's
punches.
just
Yeah.
going after, he's trying to knock him out with one punch, and
Yeah.
you can't do that. So.
No.
Yeah, I love it. Then you got Rocky 4.
Mm.
That was at that point where Sylvester Stallone was making these very patriotic kind of movies. So it's just
Oh,
kind of
right.
like, but it was at the heart of the Cold War, what
Hmm.
was happening, and right at the
Yeah.
cusp before the Soviet Union kind of collapsed. And that was, again, another sad moment because you see Apollo Creed kind of go back to the ring when maybe he shouldn't have. He wasn't,
Should not have.
and tragic, just they think
You
it's just
know.
going to be an exhibition fight, but no, it's they took it seriously, and he ends up dead.
Yeah. That's a. You know what? That's the one scene I fast forward through. I
Mhm.
cannot watch
It's
Apollo
brutal.
get beat in the ring.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah, and it's happened in real life. You've had boxers who've unfortunately, so it's
Yeah.
it's it's a dangerous sport, and you have a lot of people who are like banned the sport. It's inhumane and this and that, but um it does show these warriors kind of, what they
Yeah.
can do to endure, and it's yeah, you give
I.
respect to them.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes that's their way to kind of rise up and get,
Right.
a living. Like what else can they do? Some of these, fighters,
Yeah, I admire. I mean, like, I'm not necessarily a fan of. I'm not going to sit and watch boxing necessarily, but I have so much admiration and respect for what they do,
Mhm.
the discipline with which they live their lives
Yeah.
to get in the ring. It is my goal in life to never get punched in the face. That is my goal, and they are like literally walking into the ring voluntarily, saying, "Come hit me." That is amazing to me.
Yeah, that scene in Rocky 3 when Apollo takes him to his gym and he sees all those fighters who are there,
Yeah,
and he's like, "Look at them. They all have the eye of the tiger." Because
yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah,
This is our chance. This is our shot. And I'll put my body at risk to support my family and yeah, so that's
that's amazing.
even the ones who have reached that level and then they lose it, they have that dream to go back again, and that's why you see a lot of these boxers kind of come back. So it's very believable that
Yeah.
Apollo would do that, He's like,
Right.
you know?
Well, he even said to Rocky, it when you retire, it gets too quiet, and it was easy for Rocky to say don't do it because Rocky was still on top,
Yeah.
and it was Apollo's when he had the chat with Rocky in 4, and he's like, we're the warriors. It's not something you can turn off, off and on like a radio. This is who we are. It's not what we do. It's who we are. It's a little bit different for them. So he couldn't let it go. And Apollo, and I love Apollo, and I'll never say anything bad about him, but he did have like maybe a bit of an ego, and at
Big
the
ego, I
end,
think.
love him to death. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe at the end that's what kind of did him in.
Yeah. So you've got now then Rocky comes back and he's like, I got to avenge. He doesn't want to, step back in the ring, but now he has to. Now he has to
Yeah.
kind of, and they don't sanction the fight. So he goes
No,
to
gives
like,
up the belt.
yeah, he's like, okay. And that's it. That he goes and that becomes this. I always say the fall of the Soviet Union is because of Rocky Balboa. That speech he gives at the end, right?
If I could change, you could change. Yeah.
Yeah. So give credit. It changed the world for sure.
I mean, it was a good speech. It made
It was
sense.
a
It
great speech.
resonates.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't blame everybody for cheering, and
Yeah.
that was really good. Dolph Lundgren, people kind of for a little while associated him with this kind of dumb Russian character. And he is a smart guy.
He's tons of degrees, right?
Yeah.
Physicist, or he's got some sort of chemistry degree.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, the Creed movies, we'll talk about that in a bit, but they brought the character back and gave
Yeah.
that arc a little bit more instead of it being like this cartoonish character. But even in that movie, in Rocky 4, you see he's more than just a two-dimensional character, right? He's
At
like,
the end.
yeah, yeah,
Well, they were giving him the steroids,
yeah,
or
which
they
he didn't
inject.
want. You
Right.
could see that he was like, I could do this naturally, but they were like, no, so it just played
Yeah.
into that stereotype at the time of, the and in the news about like a lot of the Russian athletes were doping for the Olympics and things like
Right.
that. So just a great story, and
Yeah.
the
And at
training
the
sequence
end,
is one of the best, I think,
oh,
in
the
that.
heart. Yeah, there were two, right? There was
Mhm,
uh the training montage, and then the Hearts on Fire training montage
mhm.
after Adrian gives her support, and then it's a whole different level of the way he does his training, and that is my favorite. training
Yeah,
montage
he's got the
of the
beard. He's
yeah,
out there in the snow
with
lugging
that
this.
heavy jacket, that coat, and those heavy boots. That right there, that's got to be like 50 pounds of weight just on him walking out the house.
Now, did you see the director's cut of Rocky
I
4?
did.
What'd you think of
Rocky
that?
4. Yeah.
Rocky
I saw
4,
the direct
Rocky 4.
yeah. I liked it, but because I didn't love it, because we grew up with the Rocky 4 that we know, that I kind of have memorized at this point, it's hard for me to see a different version of something I've seen a million times. And I feel he added a lot of great scenes, but he also took out scenes that I loved. I'm a bit selfish. I wouldn't have minded one that kept everything in. So
Mhm.
what? It's 3 hours. I don't care. I'll sit and watch it.
Yeah.
But I did like seeing the conversations that he had with Adrian that we never
Mhm.
saw. That was my favorite for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and that was great, and I just it felt a little bit more like a music video, the director's
Oh,
cut to me, it just felt like a little bit more, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was
yeah. The funeral scene also was lengthening, and I thought that
yeah,
was really great. The extra speeches, I believe we saw Duke speak, which we should have seen in the first version of the Duke should have definitely spoken.
yeah.
Um,
Duke's
he's an
another great
underrated
character,
character. He's
another one.
underrated, I feel, because we always talk about Mickey, Apollo as great trainers, but I thought Duke was an excellent trainer.
He was, and Apollo owed a lot to him, and then the fact that Duke then gets into Rocky's corner too, I think
Yeah,
that was a great touch. They all come back. They all like,
yeah.
they all have arcs. We haven't talked about Paulie.
Oh,
I love the stuff in 3 where you see
yeah.
how, everybody's kind of making a success and he's still feeling down and he's like feeling bitter that all he got was the watch. It's like, oh,
Watch.
it's a stinking watch.
F slacks
And-
watch, he says.
yeah. And Rocky's like, had I known, it's like, what do you
Yeah,
need?
why didn't you ask me for it? And he's like, "No, you're supposed to just to give me things. I'm
Yeah.
not handouts." That's what
What a
come
great
on, Paulie.
character.
Yeah. God, love
And
him to
Burt,
hate him.
Burt Young is, I've seen interviews with him and he's so soft spoken and
Oh, yeah.
so different from
Yeah.
Paulie,
I've met Burt Young twice. I got to meet him briefly, and very sweet and
Yeah.
soft-spoken and polite and nothing at all like Paulie.
Which
Paulie's
shows what a
so
great
in your
actor he
face,
was, because
and
you
you don't think about
believe
it.
that that's what he's like,
Right? Well, the same goes with Dolph Lundgren. I got to meet Dolph early this year at the Philadelphia Fan Expo. It was a really brief interaction, but he's really nice.
Mhm.
And I spent my whole childhood not liking.
That's a
I'm
good
sorry.
testament, right? Where the villain becomes unlikable, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you don't realize, wow, he's acting. He's really
yeah,
not like that in real life. He's a really good guy.
yeah. Mr. T had that impact too. People were
Yeah.
booing him because he was so. But at the end, it's also like it was one of the most believable villains, right? Where it's like
Yeah.
he wants a belt. He wasn't like
Right.
a bad
He didn't do
character. It's just
anything
like
wrong. That's
yeah,
his job.
it's like the wrestling villains. Like it's funny that they started with the wrestler match because I
Yeah.
think that's what they were trying to imply that he was doing. Like he's doing all this to hype up the fight. He's
Yeah,
saying
right.
all these things to get Rocky to get back in the ring.
Yeah.
So that's I love that character. Clubber Lang
Yeah.
is one of my favorites, and yeah. So then we go to 5. So
Yeah. Controversial.
I liked 5. I know it's so different from all the other movies. I know, this was, Sylvester Stallone had been directing all of them after the first one. And this one you
Yeah.
bring back
John.
Avildsen, right, from the
Yeah.
first one. And they're trying so hard to be like that first movie in so many ways.
Mhm.
He's back in Philly. He's lost all his money, right? He's
Yeah.
starting to feel like, whatever
The effects of
something's going on
yeah.
from that fight in Russia. But I liked it. I thought it had heart. And I
Yeah.
liked that he didn't go back in the ring. That was believable too, like to me. Like the
Yeah.
last fight was a street fight, And he's trying to get this guy Tommy Gunn to be the next fighter, and he's now becoming a mentor. So I thought it went
Right.
into like some nice directions. Yeah, out of all of them, I think it ranks on everybody's bottom
At
of
the
the
end,
list when you're
yeah.
ranking all the movies. But what was your reaction when you saw it?
When I saw it for the first time, I hated it. I accepted it, but I hated it. It wasn't like I would sit and watch 1 through 4 all the time and occasionally 5. But as I've gotten older, actually in the last couple of years, I've grown to appreciate 5 a lot more. It's not my favorite, but I've
Mhm.
grown to like it a lot more. I understand what he was doing now. I like that he's back in Philly, but the problem was I didn't want to see him brain damaged and broke.
Mm,
That was what was so hard for me. But I think that's the point of the movie. It doesn't matter he's got fame. It doesn't matter if he's at the top or has all these cars. None of that ever mattered to begin with.
mhm.
And I think that was the point. And I think I missed it the first couple of times I saw it. I was just outraged.
Yeah.
But I like that he would become a trainer. That's the natural. Mickey was a fighter, he became a trainer. Apollo, same thing.
Hmm.
So I like that he became a trainer. And I liked Tommy Gunn. I thought Tommy Morrison did a really good job for
Hmm.
not being an actor. And George Washington Duke was quite the character, very colorful,
Yeah.
loud in your face and
Yeah. I wish
believable.
they'd give him a different name because when I think Duke, I think the trainer, right?
Right,
But yeah, he felt like a Don King kind of
right.
parody a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, he was a and that final punch that he gives him,
yeah.
everybody's
Touch me and I'll
staring.
sue.
Yeah. He's like, yeah,
Sue me for what?
yeah, sue me
But
for what?
I the street fight bothered me only because I never saw Rocky as a street fighter. He was a
Hmm.
club boxer, a professional boxer.
Yeah.
That's a different skill set. That's totally different. Street fighting
Mhm.
is, it seemed a bit dirty, especially with Tommy Gunn coming at him from behind so often. That's just dirty.
Yeah.
But he couldn't go back in the ring. That would have been wholly irresponsible for him to go back in the ring. And I
Yeah.
think that's why at the Sylvester Stallone eventually came back with Rocky Balboa in 2006 because he didn't want it to end in the street ultimately. But I could understand why he did that. He could not be in the ring. There was no way he
Yeah.
could fight.
Yeah. And that's why I think Rocky Balboa, the movie, was so well received because I think people wanted
Mm,
to see that. They needed that closure. And that's a movie where it starts off with this kind of simulation, right? So it's like, you're
mm,
seeing this
yeah,
kind of who's the greatest in their prime, right? But then he does come back. Like, and it's like a lot of this temptation that a lot of boxers have. Tyson came
right.
back and Foreman
Yeah,
came back. They feel like they have to prove something to themselves, if not to anybody
right.
else, right? And that
Yeah.
was a little believable too, because again, just like the first movie, he doesn't win in the end by decision, but and maybe the other fighter too, was it Mason Dixon in
Mason
that
the
one?
Line Dixon. Yeah,
Yeah. So he maybe was holding back a little bit because he knows, okay, he's older. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to. So
right.
he was kind of a little bit more of a sympathetic
Yeah.
antagonist than
I
some of
liked
the
him.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was believable. I thought it was pretty good. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
movie,
I,
Rocky
I did.
Balboa. Yeah.
I like that it ended with an exhibition bout, him in the ring,
Mhm.
saying goodbye to everyone. He left after the fight was over, he left without even hearing what the scores were, what the
Mhm.
decisions were, because it wasn't about that for him. He didn't care.
Yep.
He already
I thought that was a
he
great
had his
choice.
career. He did well, yeah, and he just kind of he let that young man, the future of boxing, he let him have his moment in the ring, and he walked off with his people.
Mhm.
And the fans were cheering for him. That was enough for him.
Yeah.
And we see him kind of shaking hands with all the fans up above. And in the
Yeah.
last scene, he goes back to Adrian at her grave.
Yeah. Great.
It
Man,
was
great
beautiful.
movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's a good writer, Sylvester Stallone. He knows how to
Gosh, yes.
take these. He's not just rehashing. It's just like, okay, we do another one where it's so good. And then the subplot that we haven't talked about is like a lot of stuff with his son in the
Mm,
last few
yeah.
movies, right? So you had Sylvester Stallone's son.
Sage. Yeah.
Yeah, may he rest in peace, right? He was great
Yeah.
in the other movie, and then you had a low in the new that it's strained. It's a little broken there, So
Oh yeah.
that's part of what we love about Rocky, right? These his
Yeah.
relationships. So
Yeah. Not perfect.
yeah,
It's not cookie cutter. It's not, I can't the Waltons or whatever.
yeah,
It's not like that at all. It's up and down. And his son has his own problems carrying the name Balboa in Philadelphia. Wherever you go in the world, everyone knows who Balboa is, but
yep,
especially in Philadelphia, that's a big cross to bear for that kid
mhm,
trying to make it out on his own and always having to wonder, are people talking to me because they hope one day they'll meet my father, something like that. It kind of makes me think about celebrity kids in the real world and how what they must go through having famous
absolutely.
parents. So I think that played out in that movie as well, to the point that Robert eventually moves to Canada.
Yeah,
So
to kind of escape it because
yeah,
yeah,
which is sad because he leaves his father behind, but his father Rocky understands.
yeah, and we revisit that in the Creed movies a little bit, the whole stuff. So we talked before we recorded about your reaction to the Creed movies. I
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. What a creative way to kind of continue the saga. I wish I had been in a movie theater not knowing it had any connection to Rocky and just
Oh,
seeing it and then seeing Rocky Balboa come into it, or seeing him look at that picture and I'm like, oh wait, Creed? What? Is it
wait a
really?
second. What?
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. But that first movie was so great. And I said Creed 2, I thought, to me, felt like it was it should have just called it Rocky 7, I thought, because
Yeah.
it was so great.
Yeah.
Um,
I was wondering how because I really loved Creed, the first movie, and I didn't think they didn't top it with the second, but I wondered how they could have done any better because it was so beautiful, I thought.
Mhm.
But bringing back, and then when I heard that they were bringing back Drago's son, I was like, oh, come on, let's think of something new, something original. But they made it work, I
Mhm.
think, because they humanized Drago, and I actually started feeling bad for him.
Yeah.
I felt like I was betraying
His
Apollo
wife
by feeling
left
bad.
him,
The whole
it's
country
like
left
his
him.
life fell apart after that,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see I loved it. I just thought it was
Yeah.
great.
That moment at the end when his son was fighting Adonis and he picked up the towel, he was gonna throw the towel for his son, which is what they should have done for Apollo, of course.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a full circle
Mhm.
moment, I think. He didn't want his son to get
Yeah,
pulverized. It was really heartbreaking, to
yeah,
be honest.
yeah.
And I
No,
was mad
I
that
love
they made me feel that way about Drago.
I know. And I like 3 too. Creed 3, I love that as well. But, I
Yeah.
it has no Sylvester Stallone,
Nah.
That's
No.
so it's like it's still part of the saga, but the character
But
isn't there, and it's all about Sylvester Stallone's Rocky Balboa
the
character.
heart is Rocky.
Yeah, yeah. But I love all the characters, and I think, Michael B. Jordan has done a great thing. There's apparently gonna be another movie version. I don't know if Sylvester Stallone will be in it or not,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
Creed
we'll see.
4, I think, or and then something about his, daughter, a TV series about his daughter, Adonis's daughter.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
And I also love Apollo's wife has a great art, and Felicia Rashad has done an amazing job
yeah.
playing that. So you see that arc continue, and then you've got, little Duke
Yeah!
being the trainer. So it's like Duke's
That
son.
was a surprise for me when I first saw Creed. I didn't know that they were bringing Duke's son. I was so delighted. Absolutely, because I loved Duke. I was delighted to see his son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the movies we've talked about them. There was a Broadway show. I have not seen it. Tell me your experience with. You didn't want to go see it, right?
Yeah, and, I at the time, and I was living in New York City, Manhattan, and I loved Broadway. And I remember when the musical was announced, everybody talked to me, including I believe you even told me, "You must be so excited about the Rocky musical. It combines your love of Broadway and your love of
Hmm.
Rocky." And I was not happy about it. The only reason I was okay with it happening was because Sylvester Stallone was behind it. He gives his blessing, I'm okay with it. But I didn't wanna see it because I can't see any other actors play those parts. I cannot see someone else play Rocky and say those lines, Mickey and everybody else. So I didn't go see it. But I heard it did really well. People loved it. Andy Carl, who played Rocky, got
Hmm.
nominated for a Tony. So they did something right. It was just me being a little funny about it.
And
But
it
I
won
did,
for the best set, so everybody was talking
yeah,
about the set. I hadn't seen it, but I guess the way they made the ring and the lighting, it got a lot of praise for the set design.
yeah,
I wish I'd seen it. But to your
yeah.
point, another character playing the role, another actor playing the character.
Couldn't do it.
If the saga is to continue, there's going to have to be somebody else that plays Rocky Balboa, right? So
Right.
there's gonna
I
be this
would be
prequel.
a
He wants
prequel I'm on board with.
Yeah, so showing him before he got
Yeah,
that match against Apollo when he was young, a teenager, falling in love, getting
yeah.
into, all the shenanigans that he got
Meeting
into.
Gazzo and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would love that because I'm not seeing what I've already seen played by someone else. Like, I wanna see something new and fresh, and I understand then we're going to have to use new cast. That's fine
yeah.
because what they're saying is new. I don't wanna see someone else say, "Yo, Adrian, I did it." I'm not having that.
Mm,
So that's why for me, like, a God forbid, a remake or anything like that, that would send me.
yeah. Maybe we'll see where he goes. Maybe we'll see his grandson, Rocky's grandson in the
Yeah.
ring, and so it'll be kind of a semi reboot. It'll still be
Yeah.
somebody named Rocky Balboa, but
Yeah.
it'll be a
I'd be
different,
okay with that.
you know. But it's a character that's, I think, gonna live on after Sylvester Stallone because it's one of those
Oh,
characters
yeah.
where he's created something that has resonated. And now next year, as of this recording, we've got the 250th anniversary of America, so just like the bicentennial, and it's the 50th anniversary of that first movie.
Yep.
There's gonna be a lot more demand. So yeah, there's the prequel, there's the biopic, there's allegedly a sequel that he has in mind where he goes and trains someone else.
Yeah.
I think there's life for the character
Yeah,
beyond.
I love Rocky as trainer. I do
Yeah,
like that. As
yeah.
long as he lives, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I think if he gives his blessing,
Yeah, oh, of course,
I'll
Sylvester St
support it,
without it,
It's
yeah.
like, I will definitely support it. What have we left out? And Butkus, the dog, he's a character of himself, right?
Yeah, and, there's a story behind Buckus as well because Sly had to sell his dog
Mm,
when he was down and out, and
such
he
a
had
sad
no
story,
money.
yeah.
He had to sell his dog just for I guess, to eat, money for food. He eventually buys the dog back after Rocky or something like that. And the guy who had him sells it to him for like $15,000 or something like that.
Amazing.
Like, come on.
But that was who he had. He just had that dog
Yeah.
in that first
Yeah.
movie. That was like his connection. And it was good seeing him with another dog in Rocky
Oh,
5.
Punchy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Punchy.
that was
So
cute.
that
And
was
I
good.
like that he went to a shelter and adopted him. That was such a thing Rocky would do. Go save a dog off death row.
So you mentioned meeting like Dolph Lundgren and all these others. You've had a
Yeah,
chance to meet Sylvester Stallone, right? So
I did.
what was that like?
Oh man, let me tell you. That was so the I went to the red carpet premiere of the Rocky musical. And I just to get a glimpse of him. And I did catch a glimpse as all the stars, Burt Young, all the stars were coming to make their way across the red carpet. And I screamed, Rocky Balboa, and he waved at me and all that. And that was it, right? I got my glimpse. And then I overheard that the wrap party was going to be at the Roseland Ballroom. So a bunch of fans and I decided to go hang out in front of the ballroom. So security had set up a fan area for us. So I waited, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours outside in March, New York City weather, hoping that he would come out. Would he sign? I don't know, but just to catch another glimpse of my lifelong hero, worth it. He did come out. He did come over to us. He signed my official Rocky scrapbook, which is the book he wrote in 77
That is
about
so
the
cool.
making of Rocky. I took a picture of him standing in front of me. And as he was leaving, I was starting to panic because I really didn't say anything to him because there was like chaos and pandemonium behind me. So I had just blurted out, "This is the book you wrote in 1977." And he stopped and he said, "Did I sign it?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Okay, good." And he went into his car with his waiting family. I My face was swollen, my hands were swollen because it was like 13 degrees out and I had been outside for hours and hours, and I think it was around 1 in the morning, and I called my mom. I woke her up. She knew where I was, so she was kind of in and out of sleep waiting for me to call. And she goes, "Did you meet him?"
That's
And I
awesome.
said, "Yeah." And I said to her, "This is the greatest night in the history of my life."
That's
Yeah.
so great. That's
Yeah.
great. It's good when you meet your heroes and they don't disappoint. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so happy for the career he's had because of this
Yeah.
character. He wouldn't have the career that he had if it wasn't for Rocky Balboa. And he went on to create, Rambo, and he played in Copland, one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now even in Tulsa King, I mean, he's so good in that.
Yeah.
So he's given us a great legacy of entertainment. But Rocky Balboa kind of
Oh.
is a character. I think he's even said it. It's kind of beyond even his wildest
Oh, yeah.
imaginations.
It's international. I mean, there are fans
Everywhere.
all over the world.
Yeah, the musical's played in Germany, and it's still
Mhm.
playing in, like, Brazil and other places, and, yeah, everywhere you go, people know the character Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, I've met friends from because I do Rocky tours. I
Mhm.
go on Rocky tours just every year for the last couple of years, and I've become friends with people from everywhere, the UK, the Netherlands, Australia, that are just as passionate as we are here in the US. It's unbelievable. That's how relatable he is.
That's awesome. Well, I hope some of them see this and
Yeah.
correct me on any mistakes I made, which I know I probably made a couple, but
No, no, you're fine.
this has been so great. I'm so glad this has been worth the wait, Trish.
Oh, thanks.
I'm so happy that you did this, and, so anybody out there who's listening, share this episode to anyone else you think would love hearing about Rocky Balboa. Like, comment, and until we meet again,
Yes,
hopefully there'll be other characters we can talk about. But Rocky Balboa will live on forever.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Greatest Characters in Pop Culture History.